How are you looking there, sir?
Good evening, counselors. We're ready if you are, Counselor Martinez.
Good evening, Counselor. Same here. I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order for the community services meeting. Thank you, sir. Go ahead and do a quorum, sir.
I'm sorry. Did you call for a roll call?
Yes, sir. Please do a roll call. Sorry about that.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Salazar.
Good evening,
Tim
I'm
Salazar.
present.
Okay. Counselor Dorothy Didi Vihil or Valdez.
Yes, present.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Honored to be with you all.
And Chairman Manny Martinez.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Great. Great to hear that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my agenda up on my phone here so I can look at that. Could you please put that on the board, sir?
Give us just a moment. We're having a bit of difficulties here as well.
Thank you. Okay, let's go right ahead and go to the agenda. There are a couple of items before we approve the agenda that I'd like to go through. First of all, I'd like to see if we can change the overview of number 2 to the last spot on number 5, and the senior center spot report to number 2. And that again is under the overview of the committees. And also I'd like to see if we could move, can you please scroll it up a little bit? I'm sorry, in the other direction. I'm sorry. Yes, but under consideration of business plan submitted, number 6, items for discussion for committee, I'd like to see if we could move that to after the fiscal year. I do believe that we have, as a council, we agreed upon allowing the police department at this time and the fire department to utilize the gym until the end of the fiscal year. And I'd like to see if that is correct before we move forward with something like this. And also to see if we need to do any type of cost assessment study to see if there is a difference and change in the rental agreement for that particular space. So I'd like to see if we could move that to our meeting after the end of the fiscal year in, I believe, in the end of June.
Motion to approve as amended, sir.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Just to be clear, could you restate, Chairman Martinez, the first things that you mentioned, please?
Yes, on the department reports, it would be moving number 2 to the last spot of number 5. And moving number 5, the senior center report, to number 2.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Can we go ahead with the roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tim Salazar.
Yes, for the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez.
in favor.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez.
In favor?
Counselor Chairman Manny Martinez.
In favor?
Okay,
Okay, motion approves. Let's move on. Please scroll down on the agenda, please, sir. Thank you. Let's go ahead and do we have any public comments?
I don't believe so. I thought we were going to, but I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, well, let's give a little chance here. If there's anybody out there that is logging on or trying to log on, if you'd like to have something to say, please let us know. Anyone? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to committee member comments. Councilor Martinez.
I'll yield to my fellow counselors. Thank you, Chairman Martinez.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Councilor Valdez.
I'm sorry. I scrolled my screen too many times and I was on my Gmail. I'm sorry.
Any comments, ma'am, that you'd like to make or any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that on Sunday, I guess yesterday, I was just riding through the beautiful Espanola Valley, and we passed by the Valdez Park, and the park looks beautiful, and there were children playing on the equipment and families there, and it was just joyous to see that the weather is getting better, COVID is getting better, and things are getting back to normal.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem Salazar.
Thank you, Chairman Martinez. I do not have anything at this time. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, Chairman Martinez. Like Councilor Valdez, I've noticed a lot more activity in our parks, and we want to say thank you to the staff at Parks and Recreation for their work. I do have a concern about the dry grass at up here by the fire department. Wondering if there's a plan to have that reseeded or resodded or anything, because there's an area there that's looking pretty sad. But other than that, just like Councilor Valdez, grateful for things to be seeming like they're turning back to a little bit of normalcy in our community, and the warm weather just brings people out of their homes, and it's nice to see people utilizing the parks.
Thank you, Councilor. I completely agree with both of you. It is nice to see people getting back outside and enjoying some recreation, getting some exercise, or just getting outside and enjoying the sun. And I know we'll start seeing a lot more people planting now at this time of the year, but it is nice to see people getting out. I was also out there yesterday, and there you can see a lot more traffic in town, a lot more people dining out, which is nice to see. And I just encourage people to continue keeping themselves safe. Of course, wearing their masks, social distancing, but it is great to see people getting out and about. So thank you guys so much. And thank you, Community Services, for all that you guys are doing. The place is actually looking really nice. And let's keep it up. I agree with Councilor Martinez on the lawn. Let's see what we can do to bring these surfaces up. Not just the one there, but also in different parks, just to make sure that the grass stays green and stays full and flourished there. So thank you guys so much. We have next on item H, recommendations for items to full council. First we have is consideration for approval of the 8th annual Show and Shine Car Show from Saturdays.
Point of order, Chairman, you missed the minutes.
Oh, I am sorry. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
my
sir.
apologies. My
No
apologies.
problem. No problem.
Let's go ahead and move back to E. I apologize again for that. We have approval of community service minutes of do I hear a motion to approve?
So move, sir, with one amendment, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Could we have the letter that was in the last packet attached to the minutes, please, from the entity, what was it? Oh gosh, I have to go back to my phone. Hold on a second. I think the entity was the people that got the bid for the remodel on the fire department, the facility built letter of intent. Could we make sure and include that letter in the minutes, please? Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion to approve with the amendment of adding, making sure that we add that letter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor?
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Chairman Manny Martinez.
In favor?
Motion carries.
Thank you, sir. And thank you again for correcting me there, Councilor Martinez. Let's go on to recommendations to items to full council. And again, that's a consideration for approval for the 8th annual show and shine car show on Saturdays. Do we have a motion?
So moved, sir.
Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, do we have anyone like to speak up? Ms. Councilor Martinez?
Sure. I just want to recognize the efforts of Mr. Isaac Romero in this show and shine situation. He only does it once a month, but it's a big deal because people actually look forward to coming into town to see some of the vehicles that are here. And it's very nice that it's at the convento and they get to see a little bit of our community. And I appreciate his efforts in keeping this going, and people actually are looking forward to it on the third Saturday of every month. So we recognize him for his efforts and we appreciate what he's doing. And I'm hopeful that this is something we can keep going for a long time.
Thank you, Councilor.
Absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem Salazar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I would just like to echo those comments. I thank Mr. Romero for his hard work in doing this. And of course, you know, people love the show and shine. So I think it's going to continue, and I think it's going to continue to be more of a success. So I'm all for it, and I just want to thank Mr. Romero as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Valdez?
Yes, like my fellow counselors, I want to thank Mr. Isaac for keeping it going. Yesterday, when I was in town, there was many lowrider, I guess it was Cadillac Day, a lot of Cadillacs. And I know that our community loves lowriders, my husband included. He loves to see all the cars with their beautiful paint jobs and the pride that the owners have taken to make them look that way. So yes, I am all for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Valdez, and thank you all counselors. I couldn't more than agree with all of you. I think this is a great endeavor that Mr. Romero has taken, and for doing it for 8 years says something about it, and it just seems to keep growing. So we do want to thank him so much for taking that effort of doing this. I know it takes a lot to do one event, and he's doing so many, one every month for so many months. So that is kudos to him, and thank you to him for doing this for us. So with that, I'd like to go ahead. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor of the motion?
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
Also in favor.
Chairman Manny Martinez.
Also in favor, and Mr. Frost, when you do speak with Mr. Romero, would you please send him our regards and how much we thank him for his efforts of what he's doing by keeping the show shy going, especially during this time.
I absolutely will. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on our list, we have a consideration for approval for the electric light parade and Las Posadas, use of the Mission, December 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, 2021. This is recommended for full council. Do we have Ms. Gabriel Silva with us on this, Mr. Scott?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. I just can't get my video to start. Hello, Mr. Counselor Martinez. This is Gabriela. How are you guys this evening? I just wanted to go ahead and let you guys know the reason for all the dates, if that's okay.
Yes, please go right ahead.
Okay, so, of course, it's been a difficult year for most of our artists this year, and this is usually one of the venues that we have to actually help promote the artists. And so because of COVID, we've had these soft openings. We haven't had a lot of sales in the gallery. So this is usually one of our best events of the year. So we are trying to do it very similar to the way we've done soft openings, where we do them every couple, like 3 weekends in a row. So we don't have everybody coming at the same time. And so I think for December, it would be good for us to kind of plan an extended, kind of like we did before, where we did kind of like a Kermazar. So the artists, it's our major fundraisers where we can actually help artists sell their wares. We sell the tables to people, and then that's a donation they give us back. So that's the reason why we wanted those days. We'll also collaborate with any other organizations, of course, the Downtown Action Committee, and whatever they want to do to support the electric light parade as well. For the Posadas, it's part of the Heritage Arts, that's part of Northern New Mexico as well. So we like to always invite people to come and celebrate these events that are part of Northern New Mexico as well. It's not, of course, it's a religious holiday, but for us, it's also part of the Heritage Arts. So it's something that we celebrate with others. We want to invite people to come to the Mission because it is a museum. So having that, we want to make sure that we show people what the Posadas are about and teach people the whole significance behind it, where it came from. And so that's why we host that as well. So thank you.
Chairman Martinez, I'd like to make a motion to approve and send this to our full council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions for Ms. Silva?
I have some questions, please, Chairman Martinez.
Go right ahead, Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Good evening, Gabriela. Thank you for everything you've done for our community, especially in COVID and having to rearrange the way that the Art Center interacts with our children and with our community. We appreciate all the hard work and all the effort that you've made in continuing to have projects for our children, even if they've been through internet or pickup services or whatever you've done. So we certainly appreciate everything you've done. The question that I have deals with making sure that we cover the Downtown Action Committee and the electric parade. So you're asking for approval for the electric parade and the Posadas. So I'm curious, those two events will coincide with each other on that weekend?
I don't think they will actually. We usually get the date that Santa Cruz gives us for the date that they would want us to host the Posadas. With the electric light parade, it would be me collaborating with Tini Bustos and the Downtown Action Committee. And also, so it wouldn't be on the same weekend, of course.
Yeah, that's the only concern that I have. I know that they usually do the electric parade, if it happens, will usually happen on the first Saturday of December. Right. Am I right? Or the second Saturday?
Correct. Yes. And that's usually the way it works. And so we've only been doing it, I would say it's been about maybe 6 years that we've been hosting the art fair that we do inside the Mission. And so before, I think they were also doing Christmas trees that they would auction off and different things that the city was collaborating with them. So of course, I'll work with Teeny Bustos and whatever we can do together to make it, a memorable event for everybody. So it would just be that week. It would just be the day. Because of COVID, I want to make sure that we can have everybody set up early and we don't have so many
Right.
people in the same place
Right.
at the same time. So I could be in the past, Ms. Martinez, we've had people coming in on that day. So it just seems like so many people come in on that Saturday. So I was thinking it was to do like a 3-day. They could set up on Friday. We could do it on Saturday. They can even continue on Sunday. And so that would allow us to at least have, yes, ma'am.
I just am thinking that Teeny Bustos had reserved something, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I don't have an issue with this. I think it's good. Anything that we can do for the community, and especially attaching the beautiful art that we have here to the community, is something good. But I do want to make sure that we do show the Downtown Action Committee the respect that they deserve because
Of
of
course.
what they do with the electric parade. So as long as you're willing to work with them and all of that
course.
is doable, I don't have an issue with it. Thank you, Gabriela, again.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. And I will definitely get with Teeny on that. And we usually try to collaborate on, what we'll do. And then when they bring the parade down or however we're going to choose to do it this year, I'm not really sure. So I always collaborate with her. And so it's whatever we decide to do together in that sense. But she's always said it was okay for us to use the Mission on that day. And I think it was other people in the past, Ms. Martinez, that were coming in to do their events there, but they had no permission from Teeny or us, because I always try to get the vendors licenses to sell there. So I always make sure that I pay that fee to the city of Espanola, and then the vendors will be there selling through us. And that way we make sure that everybody's covered. And I think in the past, Peggy Sue, we've had people coming in that we didn't know where they were coming from. So it was a way for us to kind of help support that, where we make sure that everybody that's there is people that we know that are part of the organization, being the Downtown Action Committee, and also the artists that we know should only be inside the Mission.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gabriela.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Martinez. Mayor Pro Tem Salazar.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to thank Ms. Silva for your nonstop hard work, dedication to our city and our community. It's much appreciated, ma'am. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Councilor Valdez.
Yes, I just want to echo Pro Tem Salazar's expression to Ms. Silva. She works full-heartedly. I know she has a passion for the arts, and she does an excellent job in whatever she prepares and puts her thoughts into, and we are lucky to have her. And she's planning early, and I know she will work together with Ms. Teeny to make all of these things happen in December. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Valdez. Thank you, Councilor Martinez and Mayor Pro Tem. Also, Gabriela, thank you so much for all that you're doing. I know this has been very difficult to, especially doing hands-on with art, to do it the way we've had to do it this past year. I'm sure you've been very difficult, but everything that you've done, we deeply appreciate it. I know the kids do too, but I'm sure they're more than waiting to be able to go and do things on hands with you all. But I thank you for thinking so far ahead so that we can get a head jump start for the December. Hopefully things will be a whole lot more back to normal by the time these dates come around. But I again want to just echo what Councilor Martinez said and make sure that when Commissioner Bustos comes around and asks for dates for the light parade, that we are covered and that everything will be good for that event as well. So with that saying, let's go ahead and have a roll call vote, or is there anything else, Ms. Sylvia, that you'd like to say?
No, I just want to thank you, council members, for supporting what we do, as well, and the city of Espanola for everything that you guys do to allow us to continue doing what we do for the community. I'm honored and very pleased to continue doing what we do in the Mission Convento and the Education Center. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Roll call vote, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
For the motion.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Chairman Manny Martinez.
For the motion?
Motion carries.
Thank you. And thank you again, Ms. Silva. Okay, moving on to number 3, we have consideration of engineering estimate from Sauter Miller for parking lot improvements and expansion at Senior Center. Recommendation also to full council, Mr. Frost and Ms. Angela Valdez.
Okay, thank you. So if council will recall, or if the committee will recall, in January, which was the last time I sat in on one of these meetings, we had had some work done by Facility Build in the form of ADA improvements at the senior center. And they submitted a request for a letter of intent for us to agree to pay for engineering services that the cost of any engineering services that were incurred by them as they move forward with the project in the event that we chose not to go through or use them for the project. They just didn't want to be out on a limb for professional services. And it was determined by the committee at that time that it would be better to seek alternative means of achieving that goal. And it was recommended that we go ahead and invite the city engineer, which is Sauter Miller and Associates, to look at the project and give us an estimate as to what they would charge. And then February, we didn't have a quorum. March, I was out because I had an accident. And so this was sort of on the back burner, but we did get Sauter Miller, Miss Angela Valdez out here, toured the site. And what you have on your screen before you is the result of that and our engineer's hard work on preparing this. I can just kind of scroll through. It's a lot of information, but it starts off talking. If you look down at the, see, 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph, it kind of defines things. It says the existing swimming pool and surrounding brick paving is to be demolished and backfilled to allow for construction of additional parking. I think we're all pretty much aware of what we're looking at achieving there. And what we want to do is or what we feel is the best use of the space is to go ahead and turn the swimming pool, which is obsolete and apparently, this is before my time, but all the estimates are that it's just astronomically, prohibitively expensive to think about revitalizing the pool and using it again, aside from the fact that we have a real shortage of lifeguards here in the valley. So between those two things, it's determined that the best use of that spot would be nice parking for the senior center and the offices that are currently occupying the stroke center. So fill in that pool, start paving there and go all the way around the side of the building where employees currently park, around the, what would it be, the west side of the building along that fence, and utilize existing drainage into those retaining ponds that are on the other side of the fence. Is the basic scope of work that is described in these pages here. And then, so as you can see, scrolling down on page 2, it talks about some of the details, the curb and gutter, concrete structures, et cetera, that are highlighted for us here in this illustration. The red area is all part of the proposed construction zone. One of the areas of concern that I'm highlighting the cursor over right here is this, right where the arrow is pointing, is a drainage issue. And it's unclear whether there was, it seems like there was almost definitely drainage built into the original structure that for whatever reason has failed. What's going to need to be determined is if the existing drainage that is under that, it kind of runs from the corner of the building here underneath the road this way. It daylights out into this pond right here. Something's wrong. We don't know if the pipe is crushed or if it's just well, potentially just filled with sediment and could be cleaned out. We don't have that answer right now. That's one of the things we need to determine. But this area where these trees are growing right in here just becomes an ice skating rink in the wintertime. It fills up with water. The water doesn't have any place to go, and then it freezes. And then, of course, the freeze thaw cycle just contributes to the degradation of the asphalt. So it's a pretty serious issue. This is a major area of repair. Filling in the pool up in here and paving around the backside would be more of a upgrade. So you have repairs here and upgrade back in here. And that is what we asked Souter Miller to give us a price on what the engineering aspect of it would be. And as you go through, it's pretty standard professional services offer. They've got included in this bidding phase services, construction phase services, meetings and review. Generally, an engineer under these circumstances really handles a lot of the RFP work, getting the bids prepared and out there. In this case, construction phase services would include them having someone on the site to help us through this to make sure that we're getting everything that we're supposed to be getting and that it's being done right. I talked with Angela about possible third-party inspections on things like compaction, soils compaction, making sure that the asphalt materials are the right kind and grade and so forth. And pretty straightforward stuff if you've been involved in these projects before. We do have a section here outlined work not included, and it's all of these items in here. As again, most of this would fall back on the city to provide, and we would be providing it for whomever ended up doing this. That's nothing out of the ordinary there. And then we finally get over into the cost of it. Their proposal for all of these services comes in at $53,219.60. You add in the gross receipts portion if that's what we end up doing, and it comes to a total of $57,410.64. We never got an estimate for these services from Facility Build, nor did they provide us with even a rough idea of what their engineers would have charged. But this is what the city engineer has presented as being what we could expect to pay for these services to get that done. Now, my understanding, again, this also was before my time, but my understanding of the grant that was provided for this work, it was $150,000. We've spent 40 of that with concrete work and the ADA services up front. If we round this up to just 60 for math purposes, that comes to 100 of that 150. That still leaves 50 left of that initial phase one to get started. And then we would have to work over into phase two and potentially three to get everything done that we needed to do. But I guess that's pretty much my summary of it. I stand ready for questions, and we do have Angela on the phone with us, I believe.
Motion
Yeah,
to
she's
approve,
right
sir.
there. So we have
for purpose-
a representative from our city engineer who can hopefully answer any questions that I can't, but that's where we're at right now. Questions?
For purpose of discussion, Chairman, motion to approve.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Frost, for your presentation on this matter. And thank you also for utilizing the process. Ms. Valdez, the only thing I don't see on here that I would have liked to have seen is a cost estimate to build or a cost estimate for the project to be completed. Is it possible that that will be included?
Mayor and council, I guess I'm not necessarily aware of what the term completed project means. Are you talking about the construction side of things?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, at this point, without, doing some preliminary analysis and some of the design work, I'm
Right.
not sure that we could really get a very good estimate for For the city, we could ballpark some numbers, most definitely.
Right.
Based on some initial assessments and provide
you.
that to the city. Mhm.
Thank you. So under discussion, I just want to mention that I really believe that it's important that the city of Espanola utilize uh, our contract engineering as often as we can, instead of utilizing a one-stop engineer design and build. I think it's important that we have the projects designed according to the needs of the city and based on what is good for the city. And then a builder comes in or a paver comes in and then handles it according to those specifications. Because I think that the design is being created to benefit the community and its constituents when you hire the engineer yourself. So I think in this case, this was very important the way that it panned out. And I really appreciate Mr. Frost following through and bringing this engineering on board. And I really believe that it's in the best interest of the city to do this so that they can do it on behalf of the city, and we're getting the design and we own the design at the end of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Martinez. Councilor Valdez.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem Salazar.
I don't have anything at this time either. Thank you.
Okay, thank you myself. I just want to thank you for the presentation. It was very thorough. Thank you again, guys, so much. So let's go ahead and have a roll call vote, please. Do we have a motion and a second on the floor?
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Councillor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor.
Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez,
Also in favor.
Chairman Manny Martinez.
In favor?
Motion carries.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and thank you, Ms. Valdez, for being here, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Of course, Mayor and Council, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
And we appreciate your services. Thank you, ma'am.
You're most welcome.
Before I continue, I just want to say, I should have mentioned it earlier, Mr. Frost, welcome back, and I'm glad you're back and healthy, sir. So just wanted to send that out to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that and am unbelievably glad to be back.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now as we move on to item 4, consideration of memorandum of understanding between the Espanola Valley Little League and McCurdy Charter School for the use of the Espanola fields. Mr. Scott?
Okay, so what we have is 2 MOUs. As mentioned, we have, we're calling, it's worded here as Espanola Valley Little League. And on the MOU, it's the Espanola Valley Youth Baseball Softball League, EVYBSL. Little League is a lot easier to say, so we're going to go with Little League, but that's what we're talking about. And then we have the memorandum of understanding between the McCurdy Charter School. Both of them, I think that when I was sending information over to Ms. Serrano to help me get hyperlinked, I think I missed one. But both of the MOUs are essentially the same, and they're the same as has been for the previous several years. We didn't do it last year, obviously, because the fields weren't used at all due to COVID. But if you've seen one, you've seen both essentially. And the MOU basically starts out as you see here. The one that is on the screen is between us and the Little League. The parties agree that the Little League will manage the fields, restroom, concession during the Little League's baseball season. The purpose is to memorialize the agreement. We're making it a firm handshake here between us. We have a scope of work. The city shall be responsible for making sure the facilities are clean and usable, cutting to the chase there. Espanola Valley Youth Baseball Softball League will manage and maintain the fields when the Little League baseball program is in session. That's the dragging, lining, everything that you need to do to prepare the field for a game or a practice session. That's going to be on them. And just on down the line, this is an agreement that has been in existence between the city and these entities for some time. I looked at previous years, I didn't see any substantial changes, so I'm guessing that this committee is fully aware of it. We do have on the line with us Ms. Pamela Alcala. I think we have Julio. I thought I saw him on there somewhere. We also have Ian Maestas. So we have some representatives from these organizations who can chime in if anybody has any questions. We also have Maria Sandoval. She's our recreation supervisor. She knows a lot more about these than I do. So I would yield to you all if you have any questions, and we'll see if we can get the correct answers.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion for approval?
Counselor Martinez, concerning the way that it is presented on the agenda, it almost looks like it's one item. It doesn't look like it's two different items. So
Sí, anda. Okay, bueno, vale.
it seems like it's one thing. So could we,
Separate
does the
the
rest
two?
of my fellow counselors feel that we should split that and vote on each, or is everybody okay to just vote on them together?
I feel that we should vote on each because it is two different entities that we will be making an MOU with.
Yeah, and
I-
just for purposes of moving forward, it's very important that our packets be complete, and it's really not fair to the McCurdy Charter people to not have it in the packet either. And it's unfair all the way around, because without it, it's hard for us to see what really is on there. And if we don't act on it, it's really not fair to the McCurdy entity either. And this is just a recommendation to full council. This is not a final action. That's the only reason that I would agree with this. But I think we should split it. So I'll go ahead and make a motion, sir, to make that official, to go ahead and split the two items. One of them will be the Espanola Valley Little League, which is actually the, it's termed EV, Espanola Valley Youth Baseball Softball League. And then the other, second one shall be the McCurdy Charter.
Okay, we have a motion with of separating the two. One, of course, as the EVYBSL memorandum of understanding, and the other one with the McCurdy Charter School. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Do we have any questions on this proposal?
So
Councilor Martinez, go ahead.
we're hearing the Espanola Valley Baseball and Softball League first. I don't have any problem with that. I think it's awesome that the city of Espanola supports baseball and all that is here in our community. And I know that people are so desperate to get back to some sense of normalcy. And I feel like that's a big part of it for families and the youth. So absolutely, we're definitely interested in that. So I'm looking forward to seeing kids out on the baseball field this year.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem Dennis, Tim.
Thank you, Chairman. I too look forward to, having baseball coming back and, having our kids back on the field, and just really excited for it, and, another step closer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Valdez.
I don't have anything to say, just that I too am looking forward to seeing the teams out there in their uniforms and parents cheering them on. I can hardly wait to see that.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Frost, what are the conditions of the fields right now? And are we also talking about the field on Industrial Park Road as well being utilized?
Yes, in the case of the Little League, we're talking about all of the fields. McCurdy is basically making the Ranchitos field its home base as they've done in the past. But in regard to your question to the condition of the fields, the teams are practicing now, and we've had nothing but favorable comments. I mean, it's early in the season; they haven't been used for a whole year. But as in terms of the conditions, they're okay. We're always working hard trying to make them better, but they're certainly in decent shape, all things considered. And the industrial park fields, the sportsplex, those fields are just awesome. Anybody is privileged to be up there, and everybody who I've spoken to agrees. Now, Maria and her crew have been working hard to replace and install slats in the chain link fence to help with the wind issues and privacy. And so they've done a lot of it. Our bathrooms are clean and ready to go. We are anxiously awaiting this season to get started.
Thank you, sir.
Could I pose a question to Mr. Frost on that, please?
Go right ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman Martinez. Mr. Frost, could you give the committee a little synopsis on what's happening with the men's and women's softball league and the use of industrial park? Where are we at with that? Because we just got a message from Mr. Navarez concerning that McCurdy softball would like to utilize that field, and I'm not sure it's available. So can you give us a little bit of insight on that, sir, please?
I can do my best, but if it's your pleasure, I would defer that question to the one who's really handling the organizing of those, and that is Maria Sandoval, and she's here with us. Would that
Okay.
be all right if I let her
That's
answer the
fine. That's
question?
perfect. Absolutely. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you, Scott. Essentially what's happening up there, we need to just install the home plate bases, and once at least one of them gets finished, then definitely the McCurdy Charter School softball team can utilize it as their home fielded place.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maria.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any further questions, counselors? Okay, seeing none, I believe we had separated the two, or we're gonna go ahead and vote on the white. Well, will we be separating this when it goes to full council for vote, or did you want to separate it as well now while we vote, or vote on it together, ma'am?
I think it should go to full council as two separate issues since we
And-
separated it here.
And okay,
Just because they're two different memos of understandings, or even if they're similar or almost similar, I still feel like it's two different entities that we're making an agreement with. So it's important to recognize that.
okay, then first we will vote on the MOU with the City of Espanola and the EYBSL, the Espanola Valley Youth Baseball and Softball League. And I have a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
Yes, for the motion.
Councilor Dorothy Didi Valdez,
In favor of the motion?
Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez,
Also in favor.
and Chairman Manny Martinez.
In favor of the motion as well. Motion carried. Now for a vote on the MOU between the City of Espanola and the McCurdy Charter School for the use of the baseball fields as well. Can we get a-
Motion to approve, Chairman Martinez.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have any questions do we have anyone here from the McCurdy Charter School that would like to speak?
I'm here. I'm the athletic director and head football coach, Mr. Nevadas.
I'm also here. I'm Ian Maestas, and I'm an assistant baseball coach.
Thank you, both of you, for being here with us. Counselors, do you have any questions for these gentlemen? Counselor McKean?
I do. Thank you both for attending the meeting and for your commitment to our youth and our community and sports that are so important. First of all, McCurdy Charter and the city of Espanola have never had a memo of understanding with the baseball fields before. Am I correct?
That is not correct.
As far,
Go ahead, Rob.
yes, as far as I know, there's been a memorandum of understanding with regards to our middle school baseball team, but never with the either varsity program.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, just as long as, like I said, we're sort of doing this a little blinded because we're going on the last memo of understanding and Mr. Frost basically telling us that they're almost exactly alike or exactly alike. It's not in our packet, so we're doing this a little bit blind, but I also realize that time is of the essence where these kids are concerned. And this is not the final approval anyway, because it goes to full council for a vote. This is only sending it to full council. So that's the reason that I'm agreeing to this. Just make sure, staff, that both memos of understanding are in the full packet for full council so that we all know exactly what we're approving, because without that, we're just shooting blind. Thank you.
One thing I can add to that is that we are going to be following all of the guidelines put down by the NMAA with regards to COVID and number of fans that we're going to have there. And I think it's also important to know that, as McCurdy is expanding the presence, we've been requested to, provide a little bit of a safer environment with regards to fields. As you know, the McCurdy fields are all dirt, and this is going to give us an opportunity to raise our program. We are only requesting the dates for our games. We will continue to practice at McCurdy.
Follow up.
Go right ahead, Counselor.
Thank you. One thing I need to stress is when you're utilizing the field, especially the new ones at Industrial Park, it's just making sure that every visiting team and every team on that field understands the importance of maintaining that beautiful field and the way that it is, making sure nobody is chewing gum on the field or utilizing any kind of sunflower seeds or anything like that. Just take care of things for us. We'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Counselor Martinez. Counselor Valdez.
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim.
I have nothing at this time either. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to our meeting, and we look forward to a great season from McCurdy Charter School, and good luck to you guys, and good luck to the kids. And as they say, play ball. We'd like to go ahead and have a vote here for, we have a motion and a second for a memorandum of understanding between the city of Espanola and the McCurdy Charter School. Can we have a roll call vote, sir?
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez.
In favor of the motion?
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Also in favor?
Chairman Manny Martinez.
Also in favor of the motion. And the motion
carries.
Thank you, sir. And please do make sure that we do have both MOUs on the packet when it goes to full council, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. If I could, I would just like to apologize for that. I have them both sitting here right in front of me, and it was just it didn't get that extra click as I was sending things over to get hyperlinked, and I do apologize for that. But they're both here, and they will definitely be available for your review when it goes to full council.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Counselor, for your support.
You're welcome, sir. Now for items for discussion, consideration of obtaining soil studies at the Lucero Center to determine condition of substrate and foundation, and or contracting to repair leaks of the pool and water circulation system. Mr. Frost, sir.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Martinez. So the swimming pool basin itself, the actual pool, received a lot of tender loving care in recent years. It's in great shape, the pool, and credit where credit is due. Maria and staff have done a great job of keeping it up. It came to the attention of our General Services Department foreman, John Francisco, that actually what started it was he became aware of an electrical issue in the chemical room, and that started him looking into things. And he started inquiring as to how much water was being used to keep the pool at the appropriate level. And it turned out that it was a sizable, sobering amount of water that was being added every week to keep the pool as full as it needed to be. And so then the next question came up, well, where's this water going? And it was pretty easy to investigate around behind it, which would be I want to say the east side of Lucero Center, the side facing the river, and the Little League field, the baseball field there, along that real tall retaining wall. If you go down to the end of it near the new dirt lot that we just cleaned out, which is pretty much directly below the library and the pool, there is water pouring out of weep holes and underneath the concrete wall. Now, that in itself isn't, it's concerning because we know we haven't had a lot of moisture this winter, that there should be water coming out, but it was designed to drain in that manner. So water coming out there isn't the concern in itself. It's the quantity and the nonstop volume of water coming out of these holes, to the point where it's pooling up at the base of the retaining wall, and there's vegetation growing there that only grows near water. I don't think there's quite cattails yet, but there's evidence that a lot of water is coming out in this one particular area. And so 1 + 1, we've determined that okay, so we assumed that had to be water, the missing water from the swimming pool. And then the GSD department went ahead and had it tested, and it's got chlorine in it of swimming pool quantity. And so we have nothing to assume but the fact that water is leaving the Lucero Center swimming pool, going underground and popping out below grade, essentially at the bottom of this retaining wall. Since the pool itself is in such good shape, and it really is, Maria, myself, John, everybody, Jeff, who's weighed in on it, we're all in agreement that the leak has to be in either the piping, where the overflow drain leaves the pool and goes back to the surge tank and the chemical room, or in the surge tank itself and the chemical treatment area. Either one obviously is going to have to be repaired. We can't just be dumping all this water, first of all, from the water wasting aspect, but more importantly, and the reason I put this here, the concern, aside from the water wasting, is what is all of that water doing to the foundation and the substrate underneath Lucero Center? And it just so happens that I came here from Taos County, and Taos County is in the midst of a huge, expensive repair of a very similar nature to its county complex. There was a backflow preventer that was hidden from sight, and it was leaking probably a similar quantity of water for an indefinite period. And the building ended up settling so much that the floor was separating from the wall. You could lay on the floor and see people walking by outside, and that's not an exaggeration. We don't want that here. I haven't seen any evidence that the Lucero Center has settled to anywhere near that degree, but we don't want to risk it doing so. So City Manager Martinez helped me identify a small amount of money. It was left over from a study that was done, but the question that I put before the committee tonight is basically a two-parter. Obviously, we need to do something. Now, what we could do, one option, is not worry about the soil underneath and just work on fixing the leak. That's going to involve bringing in a contractor who specializes in such things. I imagine they would probably do a pressure test on the piping between the tank and the pool and see if that's in good shape, integrity wise. And if it is, then they're going to have to figure that the leak is coming from somewhere in the chemical room or the surge tank. Anyway, they'll have to identify where the leak is and then repair it. And we could do that without having a soil study done or any engineering of what's underneath the building. Or the other thing we could do is bring somebody in, a specialist who could take core samples of the soil itself, see how saturated it is, and give us an idea of what remediation needs to take place to underneath the foundation. And this would be done in addition to fixing the leak. Either way, fixing the leak has to happen. We know that. But do we just fix the leak, or do we fix the leak and also get some sort of an engineer's estimate in here, somebody with, more letters behind their name than I have, to tell us that, the soil underneath the building is okay, or no, we need to take some type of remediative steps. So that's the question that's out there. One bit of further information before we open it up for questions or discussion. It is not the worst time in the world for this to become public knowledge or for us to become aware of it, because due to a lack of lifeguards, the pool is closed to the public right now anyway. So if the pool was in perfect shape and not leaking a drop of water, we still couldn't open it right now because we're trying to get some lifeguards trained up. But the fact is, we don't have lifeguards and the pool needs some repairs. So there's a double incentive for us to go ahead and shut it down and see what we can do about fixing the issue. I would imagine we're going to talk about Ranchitos as a B option. And that certainly is. I talked with Maria about it earlier, that we could definitely have it open by Memorial Day. Potentially, if everything fell into place, it could possibly be open sooner. But it still leaves us with the lifeguard issue, and it doesn't look like we have about 3 individuals who are using the pool as a practice and training area, so they can get prepped up for taking the lifeguard test. And if they do, then hopefully we can hire a couple of them on, or all of them on potentially, and staff our lifeguard needs. And if Lucero Center pool is shut down for repairs, we could focus on getting Ranchitos open, and we could stick our new lifeguards over there and provide service to the city that way. But all of those are matters for discussion. I guess I kind of got off in the weeds there a little bit with the Ranchitos thing. Right now, the question I have for this committee is, do you want me to shut the pool down, get a soil study, and repair the leaks, or do you want me to shut the pool down and just repair the leaks? That's the question.
Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, Chairman Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Frost. As a matter of principle, I think it's important to recognize that water is a very precious thing, and we need to conserve it as much as possible. I mean, we charge people overages when they utilize too much water in our community, and I think we should try and identify where those leaks are happening. I think that's the most important thing that we can do right now, is find out if it's something that can be fixed or remedied quickly. Have you had any pool specialists come and look at it, or anything else? Anybody else that has experience in these types of situations? Has anybody else looked at it?
No, ma'am, not yet. I do have the name of a contractor who did some work similar to this for us at the Ranchitos pool. I got a hold of that information late last week. I knew we were having our meeting today, so before I called them, I just wanted to take the committee's temperature and see what direction they wanted me to go. But I do have a source that I can call first thing in the morning to at least get them out there and do a preliminary survey, I guess you would call it, or a preliminary inspection, and see if they can locate the source of these leaks and give us an idea of what they think it'll cost to get it repaired, or what the repair procedure should be, and then the cost.
I feel like it's important to figure out what we're dealing with, whether it is through somebody coming out to give us a basic opinion, or actually hiring somebody to evaluate it and give it to us and let us know what we're dealing with. I'm almost fearful that this situation could turn out to be very costly. And like you, I worry about water seeping beneath that situation, and also underneath that retaining wall. How safe is that? I mean, you're talking about letting these youth on the field with that retaining wall possibly being in question. Those are big things. This is not something small. We need to really be serious about what's happening here and realize that it could be a safety situation. So we need to move on this ASAP. I would recommend that you pull somebody out here as soon as you can, find out if it's something simple, if they can figure out where the leak is. My thought is that it is in the equipment area. I feel like that's where the leak is. And the reason I say that is because, gosh, man, we've done as much as we can and invested so much money in making sure that the surface of the pool is perfect. So to me, it seems like it's a situation that deals with maybe some type of circulation pump inside of the equipment area. But, you know, I'm only speculating. I don't know very much about pools. So I think it's important to bring somebody in that does. So I would recommend that you and the city manager get together and handle that as soon as you can.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We will. And for what it's worth, my experience has been that, you know, the chemical nature of the water, the chlorinated water, it does tend to be harder on pipes than just straight up fresh water would be. And so, yeah, the pool is in fantastic shape. You can't deny that. It's in great shape. It's very possible that the piping between the pool and the tank has been compromised, or the tank itself. I asked GSD about the possibility of us doing it in-house, and it's pretty much outside of, I don't want to say it's outside of our capabilities, but it's outside of our capabilities to do well. The tank is very narrow and very deep. It's a confined space. It's a pretty specialized look that these individuals, whomever it is going to be taking. I've been told that the pool in Ranchitos has a different setup, and the surge tank chemical area is much easier to access. And even that was handed over to a specialty contractor. So this one, doubly so, just because of the design. The GSD guys just have no way to safely get down in that tank and inspect to the degree that we need it to be inspected. So yeah, we'll definitely be calling in. I have the name of the company that Jeff gave me. I have it right here on my phone. I could give it to you if you want, but regardless of their name, we'll be getting them out here real soon. We've got Geotest is one of the potentials for the soil testing. And then he did send me the name of a contractor who does these type of repairs. So first thing in the morning, we'll be getting on the phone and moving on that end of it. And I agree with you. I think that's the right process. First, stop the leak, but then the next question is going to be, do we go the extra mile and see how our soils are doing underneath the building? I personally think so, and I get the feeling in hearing your comments, Councillor Martinez, that you're in favor of that. That might, it's probably going to be our next community service committee meeting before we're at a point of having to decide about hiring an engineer.
Right.
Maybe not. It could happen sooner, but definitely getting the leaks repaired. We'll jump on that right away.
The other thing I would question, Mr. Frost, is if it is a leak of some kind, is there any insurance that the city is carrying on any of that would cover it if it's extreme? So those are just thoughts. You know, I wish you well, and I'm glad to hear that you're jumping on this as soon as possible. I think this is very, very important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Martinez. Mayor Pro Tem Dennis.
Thank you, Chairman Martinez. Yes, I think it's very important to just to, of course, be able to identify the source. And I think just like Scott said, probably just go the extra yard, go the extra mile and figure out all this. probably now would be a good time, as you mentioned, the lack of lifeguards and, with everything going on. What I am concerned about, of course, as well is the cost, but at the same time, the cost could be expensive now, and we're going to, of course, have to, look for monies in order to get this done. But if we don't act on it, what about later? It could, it could be double, triple, quadruple the cost. So I think these are very important issues as well as potential liabilities. So I'm in agreement as well. I think we just probably need to act on this as soon as possible and kind of see exactly what's going on. And yeah, as far as the soils go too, I think we need to, move the extra mile for that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilor Valdez.
Yes, we definitely need to find out where the leak is. And on the soil, I have a question. Okay, we would have the test, and then what would the result be that the soil is, I don't understand what result we would get. Like, is it strong enough to hold a building, or if chemicals have already infiltrated in the soil? Can you please enlighten me as to what that soil test what information it would give us?
Yes, ma'am. Basically, the real question would be if the infiltration of so much water has changed the soil's ability to support the building as it was constructed. When they built the building, they compacted the soil to a certain degree of compaction. There was an engineer and inspector went out there and said, yep, this soil is packed enough, it's going to support the building as you want to use it. And they went ahead and they built the building, and those guys were real good at what they did, because the building hasn't settled substantially at all in the decades that it's been up. The concern is that they certified it able to support the building's weight and use based on dry soil. So now we add the element of water in there, and it changes the compaction and the compactability of the soil. And so what those tests are going to do is they're going to go in and they take a core sample. I'm sure you're familiar with a core sample. They just stick a pipe down in there and pull out a sample of the soil, however many feet down the engineer tells them to, and they'll study that and they'll analyze it and determine that, yeah, the building, it's very, very wet, but in time it'll dry out and it'll be just as good as it ever was. Or no, the soil's ability to support this building is compromised, and so we need to take XYZ remediation steps. And what they did in Taos is they used a pretty neat system. It's helical coils. They basically ran these giant corkscrews down into the soil, and they bolted them to the foundation of the building, and then they backed them off a little bit to raise the foundation up where it needed to go. And instead of just the soil by itself supporting the building, now these corkscrews that are put down into the building are assisting in holding the building in place where it needs to go. That's one option. They had several. Another thing that potentially could be done, they sometimes drill a hole underneath. Like if there was, let's say there was a cavity that had been created. If you can imagine, underneath the swimming pool, there's this constant little trickle of water, and it's grain by grain by grain, day by day, creating a cavity underneath the building where it's flowing out into the baseball field down below or somewhere else. If it's created a cavity, they can go in and pump jack, it's called. They can pump high pressure concrete underneath the building and stabilize it that way. So there's various options for repairing it if the situation calls for it. Potentially, and hopefully the best case scenario for us would be they would take a sample and they'd say, well, yes, it is saturated with water, but you know what? It's not affected the building substantially at all. All you need to do is stop the water and you're going to be A-okay for the next indefinite period. And honestly, a lot of that depends on the nature of the soil. Is it clay mix, sand? I think we have a lot of sand here, and honestly, that could be working in our favor. Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez mentioned something that did concern me, and that's the effect of all this moisture on the retaining wall itself. What if the retaining wall, never mind the building, but the retaining wall has been compromised by the weight of all this water behind it, pushing outward, pushing outward. If it were to fail while either A, kids were out on the field, or B, someone was in the Lucero Center, the collapse there could also be catastrophic. But I think we're way, way far from that. I mean, again, I'm not an engineer. I don't know. That's why I want to bring one in. But I think we need to act. I think we're on the right course, but I don't think that there's imminent disaster looming tomorrow. But we do need to find out, fix it, and do a study, and then we'll all rest well knowing that we did everything we could.
Yes, we definitely need to find the leak, and then I would recommend doing the soil test as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor
Mr. Frost,
Go
this
ahead.
is Counselor Martinez. Could I speak again, Mr. Chairman Martinez?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
So about 4 years ago, when the city of Espanola committed to revamping and investing in the Lucero Center, Wilson and Company did a study. So, and it dealt with the foundation and other things. So I think we should try and pull that out from them and relook at that study and see what it said. And I'm almost sure that at that time, the foundation was a separate issue from the leak completely, that they weren't compromising each other. So possibly let's look back at any engineering that we had done on Lucero Center at that time. And then if you find that, could you please email that to us, Mr. Frost?
Yes, I will. And thank you for mentioning that. That was another point that was brought up in conversations that I've had. So that would be a good placeholder. The study that was done 4 years ago, because just a simple compaction study test isn't going to be breaking the bank, and that would be a great place for us to determine if there's been substantial difference over the last 4 years or not. So we could look at that engineering study, which, like you, I'm sure they included something in there about the foundation, no doubt. And I will definitely send that to committee members. And then if we opt to take a test of where it's at now, we'll be able to compare with where it was 4 years ago, as opposed to 40 years ago when the building was originally constructed. It's definitely to our favor that we've had a deep look at it in recent history. That's only going to help us for sure. And yes, ma'am, I will be diligent about researching that, and whatever I find, I will share.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Any more questions from any of the councilors? Thank you, sir. I also agree with my counterparts. I do think it's very important that we make sure and deal with this leak ASAP as soon as we can. And then with that, also get that soil study so we can make sure that nothing has been compromised. And if it is, that we work on getting that repaired as well, sir. So please do what you need to do, sir, to get this thing done.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're gonna,
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Sorry, City Manager Martinez, go right ahead, sir.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Community Services Committee. I also would like to give a little bit of an informative information to the committee. So as all of you are aware, back in the 2018 election, there was a bond passed for the county for $6 million to invest in a recreational facility. I don't know if you are all aware of this or remember this. But at the end of 2019, myself, Mayor Sanchez, then Commissioner Leo Jaramillo, Dr. Bailey, members from the Llano Foundation, members from the Espanola School Board, we got together and wanted to come together as unity to figure out what's the best way to utilize these $6 million and the location as to where we'd like to bring and build a new recreational facility to the city of Espanola. Well, when that happened, we did have some capital outlay funding from the legislature of $45,000 to improve Lucero Center. Now, $45,000 for a almost 50-year facility is basically not much. So what we decided to do is use that fund and hire an engineer and get a feasibility study back in the latter part of 2019, beginning of 2020. That feasibility study gave us, the city, two options as to what we wanted to go. If we wanted to rehabilitate the facility and increase the square footage to the rest of the facility, not to include the library or the pool, because those are the most recent renovated areas, but to renovate the basketball court, the offices where the gym are, the weight room and all that stuff, and adding quite a substantial square footage to it, to the cost of about $14 million. That was to renovate and to build on. Now, they also did a feasibility study to start from scratch to completely tear down the Lucero Center and rebuild a brand new facility, doubling the square footage with much more amenities for $20 million. Now we propose this to the county, but right now the debate is as to the location where these $6 million are to be used to go ahead and pursue this idea. One thought is, of course, off of Railroad Avenue on the college campus property, which I believe the college would offer about 7 acres. And option B is on site where Lucero Center is at. So I asked Scott to bring this item to you as a discussion item to see how much more money do we want to put into Lucero Center? Because it seems like when I started back in 2017, we replaced the HVAC system over the pool, and that was just like layers on an onion. There was more problems that we were facing with the roof deteriorating, the mold in the pool, and the pool itself. So it went from a $250,000 project to $750,000 project, as all you recall. Now we've come up to a major issue again now with another leak, which we have some ideas where we're going, but that's the question, I guess, that Scott and myself wanted to make sure that you are aware going forward on this, that when you deal with an old facility, and I'm sure all of you know, and doing remodels to, a parent's house or grandparent's house, is you don't think you're just replacing the sink, you're replacing the sink, the floor, everything else. So I just want everybody to be informed on this direction that we're going. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, City Manager Martinez. I know exactly what you're saying. Where my place of employment is, they had to make that decision as well, whether they were going to utilize money to repair and fix the building that is current, or if they were going to build a new one. And because of the study of the age of the building and all that needed to be done, they chose to, of course, build a new building. So I understand where you're going here. I did actually hear about this project that the county was looking at. My question is right now, what are we looking at? Are we looking at the city council having to make a decision as to where we want to move forward, or is it right now still just in the preliminary stages of where we want to, do we want to replace this facility, or where are we at on this, and where's the county at on this right now? Are you still in just talks with them, or is this something that we would want to start bringing forward to the city council, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a great question, and members of the committee. So unfortunately, because of COVID, all these talks ceased March of last year. As you are aware, some of us, like I said, all the groups that I mentioned earlier, with the county, the city, the college, the school, and the private entity of the Lionel Foundation, we went and toured different recreational facilities throughout the state. We went down to Hobbs, which by no means we would never build a facility like that here, because that is just an enormous facility. It's called the core. And the best way I can explain that facility is the Genoveva Center in Santa Fe on steroids. But we also went to a smaller, municipality, Lovington, which is almost the exact same size as ours with a population. And they had a lot of cooperation with their local hospital to rebuild and refurbish to rebuild to build a new facility there. But also it took collaboration of all parts. But to answer your question, Mr. Chair, the talks have stopped since March. The last item that there was going to be discussing is to use some of the $6 million that had to be encumbered in a certain time frame to do a feasibility study. And this was recommended by all other organizations that were in the process of rebuilding or making new recreational facilities. And what they said is we need to do a feasibility study and get the public's input on what the needs and the demands of the public were. We didn't want to build a recreational facility and have all these amenities and not really tend to the needs of the community. And so, like I say, right now, the thought was to go and get a feasibility study as to what recreational items would be best to serve a community of this size in their recreational facility. But as of that, no more talks have been had since then.
Thank you, sir. Would you please see if you could put that on your agenda to see if you could rekindle these talks and see if the county, the Northern New Mexico College, and any other entity that you were mentioning are still on board to continue with this process of possibly either renovating the Lucero Center as is or replacing it with a new facility. Can you reach out to them and see where they might be on this, if they're still on board, and if we want to move forward with that?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. I can definitely reach out and see where the momentum is going with this. I do believe that the more popular choice that I'm hearing back from the county and from the college is to rebuild or to create a new facility on the college campus off of Railroad Avenue. So, if I guess if the popularity vote deems that that's the best option, then we as a city need to figure out what we need to do with Lucero Center overall, because I don't see that the city can sustain 2 recreational facilities to staff them or any of that nature. But like I say, I can definitely reach out to see what the direction this is taking us.
Just a quick question to both you and Mr. Frost, with your expertise as with running these type of facilities and also Ms. Sandoval's, what would you say the lifespan is of a facility like this is before needing to be replaced?
Mr. Chair, I think that we're at the maximum level of this facility already. I mean, it's just very obvious with all the repairs that we're putting into it. It's just, and I hate to say it because the Lucero Center has been a stable for this whole community. Everybody that's, from elementary all the way to, older ages, they can relate to the Lucero Center. Everybody is familiar with it. And to say that this facility has served its purpose, and I think it's time for its retirement, I think that's the direction I would recommend.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for City Manager Martinez? Councilor Martinez? How about Mayor Pro Tem
Thank you,
Salazar?
Chairman.
Any questions?
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to say that our city manager hit the nail on the head. I completely agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. How about you, Councilor Valdez?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's a very interesting topic. Thank you for bringing that up, City Manager Martinez.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and also what I'll do tomorrow, I will go ahead and forward to all of the members of this committee the feasibility study that we received back. And that way you can get a full scope as to what work was done.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to department reports. Mr. Frost?
Okay, well, first up, and I guess it's the first time in a while, but we're going to give our attention to Gabriela Silva as she gives us the NIMRAC report. Gabriela?
If I may, I think that, I'm sorry, this is Maria, that
Yes.
number 6 was skipped.
We had removed that from the.
Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm,
Okay. I went ahead and I did send everybody the report. So, of course, to start off, your counselor and all of our, thank you for allowing us to do what we do as well. So to start off here, I do have that up. For the plaza, of course, we usually have events that, people reserve the facility. Because of COVID, I think this is barely the beginning of us, renting the facilities out. So we really haven't been doing much except for monitoring activities that are going on in the facilities right now that we just have to be real careful. People hanging out in the plaza, doing things they probably shouldn't be doing. So we are doing the social distancing. We do have the areas marked off for 6 feet. If people don't have any masks, that's what we do provide. When we see visitors coming to Espanola, we make sure that we can provide those things for people as well. So for the plaza, we don't really have, anyone using facilities unless they're coming as visitors, or we do have some people that are just maybe just hanging out. They're not really locals, actually. They're people that are just coming from elsewhere and using the gazebo for, I'm not really sure what they're using it for, but so we are monitoring that right now. So it's been something, on the radar for us in the plaza because of the buildings that we're not using, and there's not a lot of activity going on in the Mission. We do have some issues going on in the gallery and the gift shop. Of course, our sales are down. We do have some people that are coming to try to at least support the local artists, which that has helped us a little bit. The visitor center, we are taking everyone's temperature. We're, of course, we're doing it ourselves. We're not having people sign themselves in. So we did change that a little bit. We have our soft openings that are going on. We do have just finished. So instead of doing the 1 month to a month and a half that we were giving artists, we're doing about almost a 2-month show for them. So it allows people to, at their leisure, when they can come and make a special trip to Espanola. The other items, so we're kind of moving artists throughout the gallery. So if you guys do get a chance to come out and see what we're doing in the visitor center, Convento Gallery, we did change the name of the gallery. So we do have Gallery 1, Gallery 2. And so we don't want too many people hanging out in the gallery because it is a smaller space. And I think that's about it. And the Bond House, we don't have any shows going on. I think we had talked to, and I had maybe talked to Teeny and some others about doing a show up at the Bond House, like celebrations of Northern New Mexico, and maybe have local people come up and provide us some photos and memorabilia of things that they have and how they celebrated the holidays. So I'm trying to work on a show that we can actually install in the Bond House that would be about the people in Espanola and how they celebrate the holidays. So that's what I'm working on for the Bond House. Right now we have nothing going on. Only if people do call us. We have had people call us during COVID and they did want to come and see the Bond House. So people do go on our website and they're looking to come through Espanola because it is stopping point for most visitors that come from everywhere. So you have people from all over the world, the country, that still come and visit Espanola. And we also take them to the Mission. In the Education Center, of course, we have the Academy of Arts virtually. We're still doing that. We have had some people that have asked us to do some classes for them individually. So throughout the COVID time, we've had just like one class where we actually did have that. Let me see. So of course we have the our pick up and go lessons. So of course the packages have been, we have had some great donations for that. We've had some people provide us with those types of funding to actually help us with those things. What else do we have on that? So we do have that, and I think on the list of that, I do have, actually, I think that kind of needs to be changed because it does show some other events that we did in the past as well. So we haven't had those things. I'm not sure how that came up there, but I think that's, let me make sure on that. Yeah, okay. And then of course the community affairs that we have here, and that would be for, the art market that we're doing. We're still trying to host people to come to the gallery and sell their work. Of course, we just installed a piece today. So that's something that we're putting in the little courtyard inside where the horno is. And then I think that's about it. I think this has to be amended on that because my dates are a little different. So I do have 2017 instead of 2021, excuse me, for that. So that was our last meeting that we had. We had one for our board. Rentals, and then we don't have any rentals, so there are no attachments for the rentals. I think if we do have some, I think they're working on one. I don't have them. Mr. Frost, I think there was just the one wedding. I think I have Miss Mays that wants to rent the Mission, and that's about it. But I don't usually get the contracts like we used to before. So now Dora and Mr. Frost are actually dealing with the contracts. So we used to be able to kind of collaborate with the community services and help them make sure that the Mission was open.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for Ms. Gabriela? Mayor Pro Tem Salazar?
Nothing at this time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Valdez?
I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Councilor Martinez? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you, Gabriela, for that. And thank you again for everything you're doing. Please keep us in the loop if there's any changes that you have over there so we can pass it along to everybody.
Definitely, and I do try to forward all of the events and all of our classes that we still have. We do put them in the newspaper and we do have them on the marquee as they're coming along. So thank you so much. And I will let Mr. Frost and also the city councilors as well know what we're doing. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Okay.
And you as well.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to the report for March for the Beatrice Martinez Senior Center. Please go ahead, Mr. Frost.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'm filling in for Ms. Terrazas tonight. It's very self-explanatory. You can see that she and the senior center have been just rocking it, for lack of a more descriptive term. They're doing super well. I think that the portion she has highlighted in bold right here really says it all. March 13th, a year ago, we closed our doors due to COVID-19, changing our view of life forever. And here we are with 25% business in the green today. And she's referring to these numbers here you see in the upper right-hand corner, 2021 versus 2020. And in spite of lack of rentals and you would think there would be less revenue. It hasn't proved to be the case. Actually, people have really taken advantage of the curbside service of the senior center. It's super popular. And we're really, really proud to serve the community and the senior center. My hat's off to them. They do a great job. I will add a little bit of personal opinion here because people ask me, well, what's the best meal? I'm going to say, if you look at Tuesdays are, you can't go wrong on Tuesdays and Friday mornings. So if you're inviting someone to eat at the senior center, I would recommend Tuesdays or Friday mornings. It's all good, but those are my personal favorites. And really, Because Dora's not here, I don't have anything else to report other than what you see before you. I will, however, entertain questions if anyone has them.
Any questions, counselors? Any questions, any counselors? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on, sir. Let's go ahead and move on to the last panel above the library is Ms. Aragon on.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Real good, thank you.
Good. The report for the library is we've actually opened now. I think we're probably into our third week of being open right now. We're open Monday through Fridays from 8:30 to 4. Of course, we're still closing from 11 to 1 for cleaning and sanitizing the building and the books and items and everything that's coming in. For the month of March, the library staff has signed up at least 21 individuals for COVID vaccines. We've given out 191 grab and go bags for crafts for kids and adults. And we've given out 56 tax packages, which includes New Mexico tax information and the federal information also. During our library Easter basket drive-through that we had on the 26th of March, we gave out approximately 500 baskets that day, and the line went down the road and around the corner. So it was crazy, but it was good. It was a good day. And of course, everybody was wearing masks, stayed safe, kept distance. Currently, I know the last time they were talking about Councilor Martinez and Councilor Valdez wanted to know if we were going to do any programs for the kids throughout the summer. I'm currently working on providing little library book boxes, and we wanted these to be placed at some of the parks so that way the kids can get books for free. I've reached out to Scholastics and filling out some applications there for free books. And currently we work with the Rio Arriba Adult Literacy Program along with the Friends of the Library. And they work with the Rio Arriba Imagination Library with the Dolly Parton program. And this program provides free books to kids ages 0 to 5. And you can sign up your kids here in the library also. And those kids get a free book every month. So that by the time, it goes from 0 to 5 years of age. So they can always have free books. April activities. Again, we're still doing our curbside, federal tax forms. We're just, giving those. We're now helping Tax Help New Mexico's. We're doing the intake for individuals who make who are 65 or make under 50,000 a year. We're doing the intake for them, and we just pass on that information to the tax preparers. We celebrated Library Week. It was kind of quiet, but we still celebrated anyway with some books that we were giving out for free to the kids. So we have some of those. I think our biggest thing in March was that our on our statistics, library tours and programs, we moved up because of the baskets that we gave away. And we've actually checked out 30 books. Oh my gosh, that's a lot compared to the months before last year. And for library revenue, we made $8.25. That's not as much as we made the year before, but we're slowly moving up there. And I think that's about it. Any questions?
Any questions, counselors? Any questions from any of the counselors?
Chair, I don't have a question. I just have a comment.
Go right ahead, Counselor.
Okay, I am so glad to hear of everything you have been doing, the free books especially. I was not aware of that program where 0 to 5-year-olds get a free book a month. I think we should really advertise that And I just want to thank you for all these incentives and ideas that you have been doing. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much. I will tell the staff that.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Any questions?
I would also just echo Councilor Valdez's comments concerning the appreciation for what the library and their staff are doing.
Thank you so much, Counselor Martinez.
Thank you, Counselor.
Anything to add there, Mayor Pro Tem?
You know what, as always, I just want to thank Sherry and her staff. You guys always do a great job. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing there. And yes, we do need to I agree with Councilor Valdez. We need to let more children and parents know that this is going on and that they can come and get a book. I think it's very important, so important that these kids continue to read. So thank you so much for having that program. And let's see if we can get more books into little kids' hands. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman.
We're going to go ahead and move on to Lucero Center Recreation Facility. Ms. Sandoval.
Buenas noches a todos. Thank you, Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, ma'am.
As you can notice, the monthly report for pretty much March, but it also includes a little bit of April and possibly some of May. Definitely, like Sherry mentioned, in regards to moving forward with revenue, obviously is not nearly equal or close to last year's of 2020. But we are definitely having a little bit more in regards to patron count, especially with some of the usage in regards to weight room and or some other ones. We are increasing as far as rentals are concerned for the use of the gymnasium during business hours and also off hours as well. Definitely a lot of disinfection, but thankfully Jeff Jeff and his crew provided us with a machine in order to do so. So that was a good thing. We are still, in regards to limited amount of patrons within each area. So it's been working out where only a certain amount come in to work out, even though they have to wear their mask. And they're not opposed to that. We're not having any issues with that. That's a good thing. The gymnasium on a reservation as well, meaning they have to reserve a time frame, 1 hour per session of 12 members. The locker room, not necessarily the locker room area, but the shower area, we are opening up that for either 1 to 2 people. One meaning, if you're the only one, or if it's a couple, whether it's the mother-daughter, but if it's a couple, male or female, of course, it's 1 and 1. So we opened up that, and some people are taking advantage of that, thankfully. At least they are thankful for that. Valdez Park, as far as the baseball, softball fields, they are being prepped for Little League. And Little League is having their online registrations. They're not having anything in person. So basically we're not helping out on that end, which is definitely good and then not, because we still get calls as to whether or not, we're taking any registrations. And so of course we have to tell them to go online. Ranchitos Park is definitely open for a gathering of up to 20 people. There is a particular football, I guess it's a semi-pro team, I believe, that they are currently practicing football there. So that, that is something that was okayed. And the only thing that I know, it's in the afternoons. I don't believe that the lights are being utilized at this time. Veterans Park, it's like my middle child on that one, which it has quite a bit of people walking around the perimeter. And of course, the softball field dugouts, I believe they will be needing some upgrading there because they're getting a little too old. At the Sportsplex, the regional Sportsplex, they are also being prepped for, as it was mentioned, for the McCurdy Charter School, and also pending the adult softball season, which I'm hopeful or hoping for to open it up for league on June 7th of this year. So there are softball tournaments tentative there for June 11th and Saturday, June 25th as well. As we mentioned before, or as it was mentioned before by Mr. Scott Frost in regards to the memorandum of understandings. So I'm hopeful and glad to be part of that as well. The activities that are going on here, obviously it's a little bit limited. However, the fitness classes are ongoing Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And they are Monday through Friday because of, the limited amount of people that can be in the area. So it's only 7 people in the area. So that's why it's like that. The gymnasium, as I mentioned, is being reserved and or rented per se for teams who are doing, or rather they are traveling teams. And so they need a place to practice. It's usually just 1 hour, sometimes an hour and a half, and that's pretty much it. There will be a sand volleyball doubles tournament May 22nd back here at the Valdez Park Sand Court. So I'm hopeful to have at least a few teams there. We'll see. And in regards to aquatics, I know that we are definitely hoping to open sometime in June, if not earlier. And of course, that pending lifeguards. In regards to the lifeguards, I know that Mr. Frost had mentioned that we do have 3 hopeful, possible hopeful lifeguards, whereas Ms. Angela Frescas is doing wonders with us. As I had mentioned to Mr. Frost, we must have hit a chord with her because she's doing quite a bit with, helping us out now that she's no longer working for the New Mexico Environment Department. So she's helping us out tremendously. And I give her kudos for that. She's definitely an asset to our facility, and I'm hopeful that perhaps we can definitely try to get an aquatics coordinator before she decides to move on to something else. Other than that, if anybody has questions, I will definitely answer.
Any questions, counselors? Counselor Martinez? Counselor Valdez, any questions? Or Mayor Pro Tem?
I do. I have a question for Maria. Maria, in previous meetings, you had mentioned something about Olympics in August. Have you thought more about that? And is that still going to happen?
Right now, as a matter of fact, I'm working on touching base again with everybody who I had sent a letter to. So we do have a couple of potential sponsors, but definitely I'm touching base again with, every single, I want to say schools in order for that to happen. It's just touching, base back with them. So for the most part, it will go, those letters will go out again this particular week, if not the next. But yes, that's still in the making.
Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Counselor Valdez. Counselor Martinez, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Martinez. Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
I'm curious about the lifeguard situation and you saying that we have 3. We don't currently have a class going on in Espanola, correct?
There is no class. Yes, no, ma'am. But they are.
Okay, so the 3 that you have are utilizing the pool to train for the class somewhere else.
No, they are actually, all 3 of them, I can tell you that all 3 of them are basically interested in becoming lifeguards for the city of Espanola.
So where is that class going to happen?
It's going to happen here. It's as soon as Miss Angela knows that they already have honed their skills and, you know, they have it all together, then she will create the class right off the bat so that they are able to pass it with flying colors and then get them on board.
So currently you're only looking at 3 people and 3 people is not going to be enough to sustain the pool and Ranchitos, much less both pools. So what's the plan moving forward on that situation?
Those particular 3 started, I want to say a couple of weeks ago. Today, as a matter of fact, we had a couple more show up. So that's a total of 5 there. And then we have currently a part-time employee who basically, you know, will be number 6.
Wow. Okay. And just for purposes of clarity, if the job of aquatics coordinator comes up, that job is available to anybody that applies, correct? Not just Miss Valdez, like you said.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any more questions, counselors? Okay, thank you. Hearing none questions, thank you, Ms. Sandoval, for your presentation. Thank you so much for all that you're doing there at the Lucero Center. I'm sure it's tough, especially with the lack of personnel that you need to fill up those spots. Thank you so much, though, ma'am. We'll move on to Mr. Frost with your community service overview. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Martinez. And so also thank you for humoring me on switching the location of these reports. As you can see, a lot of the information that went into my overview, we've already discussed. And so I can touch on it, but we don't have to belabor it. The March overview, well, we operate under COVID conditions. We have had a great amount of lightening of restrictions in the last 4 weeks, I would say. When Rio Arriba County hit green turquoise, that really helped a lot. And so staffing has returned to normal, as Ms. Aragon and Ms. Sandoval have indicated. Our hours of operation and the number of people we're allowing back in our buildings at Lucero Center have increased. We haven't yet allowed full use of the dining room or any use of the dining room at the senior center, but that's the next biggie that we're looking for. And we work, I speak with Mr. Sargent every day, pretty much. And we're, as soon as that is legal and ethical for us to do, we'll be figuring out how we can get people using the dining room again. But at this point, it's a little bit too soon. So we're not there yet, but we're anxiously awaiting it. We still have the library staff and some of the recreation staff going up to the senior center and helping out on occasion as needed, but it's not like it was before. And as the library amps up, those employees will be staying home and working in the library. We do have an opening in the senior center that we need filled, and so they've been helping us out there. But all of those things will resolve. And like I say, the biggie is getting our dining room back up to operational and having people dine in. Although it's a bit of a question because we've done so well with the curbside service. Dora and I need to really have Ms. Terrazas and I need to have a conversation and see if that might be something we want to continue offering alongside dining, indoor dining. So those are our projects in the work. We will get back to you as soon as we have more information, but we haven't forgotten about it. It's just not where we're at right now. If you go down to the next paragraph, you see everything that Maria just said about the pool. And thank you, Councilor Martinez, for asking the question about the aquatics coordinator position. Very much so. Just to reiterate what Maria said, yes, we have entered into a small contractual arrangement with Ms. Fresquez to help us over the hump, but no, we're actively pursuing both more lifeguards and an aquatics coordinator to help us out in the swimming pools. And as soon as we get candidates, we'll bring them in, those that qualify and are looking for the job. We did finish the ADA construction portion at the senior center. And if you'll recall, it was actually that generated everything about 10 or 12 years ago. I think it was Leroy's Excavating. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he was the one who wrote the original scope of work for what he identified as some things that were necessary. And whether it was him or I'm mistaken, but we did have a scope of work that was written for things that needed to be done to bring our parking lot up to snuff ADA wise. And we finally completed that. And if you haven't been by to see it, I recommend you do it. It looks nice. We've got new handrails walking down the sidewalk, and we've got our handicap spaces moved into the sidewalk so that no person who is in need of that type of protection has to cross a traffic lane to get up on the sidewalk anymore. The bike rack was relocated. All of that involves some concrete work, some handrails and placards for the handicap locations. And it really was a nice addition to the front of the building there. It looks a lot more modern and user friendly. So I'd like to thank this committee and the full council for approving all of that work and letting us get it done. It really did add a lot to the building. So it remains to be seen how we move forward. But tonight we determined to move the engineering forward to full council for approval. So if that happens, then we'll enter into phase 2. Now, the only thing that hasn't been talked about tonight by anyone is the situation that I left right before I was off work. And that is the clean out of the homeless camp, the tent city there in Ranchitos, and the homeless situation in general. So the camp was cleaned out. I'm sure everyone saw the report in the paper. Kudos to Rio Grande Sun. That was a very well written article and very fair. The information from both sides was presented, and that was nice. So we provided notice, and when it actually came time to relocate the individuals, and we just told them they couldn't be there. There was very few who were still full-time occupying the park, and those ones. Like to thank Ms. Jerica Salazar. She helped out a lot. She showed up providing hot coffee and refreshments, and later on, a few of us, including her, provided moving services to one or two individuals who had a lot of stuff and no place. They had a place to take them, but no way to get them there. So the whole thing went off really well, and I thought the article was the one in the Rio Grande Sun anyway was very accurate. We received a lot of favorable response, a great big thank you, a collective sigh of thanks from the neighborhood there. Since then, going forward, it's been brought to our attention that some areas off of Monterey Lane have increased in their homeless population. They were already in use as a homeless, somewhat of a homeless camp prior to this, but there's more people living back in there now, and our planning and zoning department is identifying their private property not owned by the city. So right now, the big question is, what do these private property owners want the city to do to help out? And that's the question that is burning on my mind as well. It's the last question on my overview, and I'd like to put it to this committee first. What do we want the city's official response to be if asked, what is our responsibility towards the homeless? I've got some thoughts. I'm just one person. I think that we're not going to solve the problem of homelessness. It didn't start here. It's not going to end here. There's all sorts of questions and issues out there. Where do they come from? Who are they? What do we need to do for them? And I think that there are organizations out there who are addressing those questions. A couple of things that I would want to mention here to this group is I don't think the city gets as much credit as it deserves. It's been said or insinuated by other folks that the city isn't doing anything to help the homeless. That's not true. When the tent city was evacuated, the city stepped right up and offered our gymnasium as an overflow shelter. The city has worked with Pathways. The city continues to work with Pathways. There's just a greater degree of involvement than might appear on the surface by the city, and the city should receive some recognition, I would guess, for what is being done. A question that I would throw out there, and I don't even know that we need to even think about answering it tonight, but I would throw it out there as a point for meditation by counselors, is would it be in the best interest of the city, acting in behalf of the citizens who are affected by homelessness, not necessarily the homeless themselves, but those whose neighborhoods are being overrun, whose property values are being destroyed, and so forth? Would it be in the best interest of these citizens for the city to provide a place where people could camp for free, and maybe camp for free, and maybe the city could somehow pony up the money to provide some sanitary services? I base that thought out there on what other cities, Austin being one, and they're light years away from Espanola, but Las Cruces, although it's considerably larger than Espanola, it's at least a little bit closer to home. But both of those cities have done something similar, where they just took some unused land and said, if you're going to camp, you can do it here. And then they were able to effect some control and some checks and balances. And one thing I would mention to everyone is, during the process of cleaning out the strip of land there in Ranchitos, I visited with everyone who was still there and was asked multiple times during the course of that day, well, where do we go? And my response was, well, the Pathway shelter is now open. We've waited for them to open before we took this action. And I had more than one person tell me straight up, I would rather sleep under a tree than go to a shelter. Well, if that's going to be the attitude of the individuals, that, how much help can we provide? The most I could say is, well, not this tree, I'm sorry. But the potential is there for maybe the city to provide a place like that. Whether they used it or not, that's another question. But at least if we were able to provide something like that, then it would be one more piece of the puzzle that we're providing. Well, where do we go? Well, the city's providing such and such a place. Maybe get the RTD bus to stop there back and forth. It wouldn't be good to put it in a residential neighborhood, and so there are other areas outlying within the city limits, but outlying areas. And RTD has told us they would gladly put in a bus stop if it was near medical center or law enforcement. All of those would be pluses. So again, I'm one person. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I would like to know what the city's response is. What is our official answer towards the homeless crisis that's taking place here? What is our level of responsibility? That's a question I throw out there, and that's what I have to say, Chairman Martinez.
Thank you, sir. Questions? Councilor Martinez, please go right ahead.
Thank you,
Or any
Chairman
comments?
Martinez. So I would just counsel my fellow committee members not to really engage in giving an opinion about where we should be with it, because I really feel like it could be a predisposed opinion to something that we're not even really dealing with yet. And I would hate for anybody to lose their vote down the road. So I think it's important for us to consider maybe possibly a workshop on this subject, just talking about the situation in general. I will say this, Mr. Frost, I feel like your comments were heartfelt. I didn't feel that they were heartless. I felt like you really try to engage, and you felt exactly what you were doing. And I really feel like you did a really good job. I know that Councillor Manny Martinez, myself, Councillor John Ramon, and Councillor Didi Valdez were called out on the situation by an independent blogger stating that we were behind this. I want to tell you that because of that, I've received 100 calls telling me, thank you so much. We appreciate your support on this. So, you know, for every one person that complained or whatever, I have to tell you that I have received a lot of positive feedback for the cleanup. I also went out to the site 2 times. I went out the day after you guys did what you did, and then I went out about another week later, and I had concern because the chain link was still excuse me, the chain link was still torn open, and it still seemed like there was a little bit of trash there that could have been picked up on our side. I'm talking behind the swimming pool in Ranchitos. So I just like to hear from you concerning that, but I want you to know that from my perspective, I was not at all offended to be thrown in the mix, that I was one of the people that advocated for that. I just want you to know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, we're not calling it done. We're not through. I continue to work closely with the Pueblo, Okeowinge, and North Central. In fact, just today, the roll-off that we used to haul away the man-made trash was hauled away. And so we're not done. The issue of the vegetative matter and both the dead and the live, we need to come up with a good solution for that in a spirit of collaboration between us and the landowner. I have committed to cleaning up the rest of the human trash, and just frankly, the roll-off was full. It had settled down some, but when we left there, it was full to overflowing. We didn't have any more room. So we'll get back out there. We're not done. But yeah, the vegetation we'll be working with the Pueblo on. The rest of the man-made trash, I do want to. Actually, at one point, if I recall, there was a push to get a cleanup day organized and get some of our electeds and our council members and so forth involved, and maybe that would be good now that the pandemic is lifting and the weather's starting to straighten up and fly right. Maybe we could schedule a nice Saturday and get some protective equipment and go out there and finish up the raking and the cleaning up. I was there, I walked through it today, and I was especially conscious of bio waste, needles and things like that. And it looks like we did have Mountain Center out there at the time of the cleanup, and I know they didn't get them all. And I went out there today and I didn't see any. So I'm thinking that Mountain Center must have gone back and continued to sweep through. If you recall, at the time we did it, it was muddy. We had one of our few snowstorms just prior to that, and so it wasn't the greatest conditions for cleaning up. But yes, we're aware there's still some more to do, and we haven't given up. The chain link fence thing, we're hoping desperately to replace that fence. We're looking in every corner for the means to put up a new fence from top to bottom, and hopefully we do that. You look at it and it's easy to see it's not going to be an easy fix to repair the existing one because the Chinese elms have grown up through it and pushed it out of shape, and then the people have vandalized it and cut it up and torn it out back. It's pretty tough repairing that one. Boy, that might be actually just a waste of money because it's in such bad shape. Not sure, but
Well-
the hope is that we can put in a whole brand new fence there as we work on remodeling and doing some major repairs in Ranchitos Park. That's another conversation for another time. But we're hoping that maybe putting in a new fence could be the city part of the city's matching funds contribution on a grant that we have going. So we're aware of the need to repair the fence. We're aware of the need to finish cleaning up, and we'll get it done as soon as everything allows.
I'm happy to hear that that fence is going to be replaced. I would caution that that's an old chain link, and the chain link that is out there right now is a heavy gauge chain link compared to something that might be available right now. So I would think about probably cutting out the sections that have the trees growing through them, and then piece that together and just replace the end piece so that you stay with that heavy gauge chain link that's there right now. Of course, if it's not possible, then trying to replace it with something that's as close to that as possible would be good. And I really feel like that needs to be done as soon as possible, because I think that when people that are foot traffic have the availability of being able to cross through and shortcut through here and shortcut to there, it makes it welcoming, if you will, for them to be in those areas. And I think it also, the fence would benefit the city in that it would provide security for our investment in that area also. So I really feel like that's something that needs to be done as soon as possible. Mr. Frost, I thank you for, like I said before, your job is difficult because you're caught in a situation where you're the front line on a situation that is somewhat uncomfortable at times. And I just want to say publicly that I appreciate the job that you did there. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Martinez. Any other councilors, any questions or comments for Mr. Frost? Again, Mr. Frost, I want to just echo Councilor Martinez. I too am very thankful for your efforts of everything that you did in the Ranchitos property, that area there. Thank you for the work and all of the staff that went out there to make sure this got done. Thank you again, sir. And like she says, we appreciate it, and a lot of constituents appreciate it as well. So this will be an ongoing endeavor for us, and I do believe that Councilor Martinez said we do need to have a work session on this, or workshop, so we can see how we're going to proceed with this in the future. So thank you, sir. Any further questions, councilors? Mr. Frost, any further comment?
No, sir. Just my turn to thank all of you and yeah, everyone that's here, Mr. Hubler as well, Jerica, City Manager Martinez. I can see a number of names here who actually everybody has helped out a lot in getting all of this stuff done. So thank you very much. Thanks to Angelica for sitting here and babysitting me through the Zoom thing. I couldn't have done it by myself without her. So there's a lot of hands involved in this fire, and just we're appreciative. Let's just move forward.
Thank you to all.
Thank you, everybody. Next meeting is May 17th. If that works for everybody, if not, please let Mr. Frost know, and we can reschedule it if needed. And with that said, let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Frost, and welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate you guys.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.